As we're approaching the end of the semester, we're going to start to deal with kind of bringing everything together that we've learned as we complete just talking about investing as part of our financial plan. I want to talk in chapter 18 about asset allocation. In asset allocation, it's important to understand the concept of diversification and how you can diversify your portfolio, your investment choices to reduce risk. Some of the benefits of having diversification, obviously, is just to have asset allocation. And this is the process of allocating money across financial assets with the objective of achieving a desired return while maintaining a risk that is tolerable for you based upon what it is. Now, you look at this and you recognize that for some of us, especially when you are initially getting off into investment decisions, that there really isn't too much diversification that you can do. But there are choices and decisions that you can make even within the confines of a relatively simple investment strategy. The One of the things that you want to do in making choices in diversification is determining the portfolio benefits of that, which means you're going to want to compare the return on the investments uh, in a diversified portfolio versus what it would be for individual decisions itself. Diversification reduces the exposure of your investments to the adverse effects of any individual investment. And that means that you need to understand that there is a factor, a portion of it that there is volatility. Every individual investment goes up, goes down. And the more diversification you have, the more smoothing out that you have over those kinds of decisions, those kind of choices, that kind of volatility in your portfolio. Uh, as we go through diversification, I really want to talk through just some asset allocation strategies that that you may find for yourself that is an important part of your decisions. Again, there are different strategies with respect to diversifying. You may make choices to diversify stocks across industries, which kind of helps to minimize risks that may be associated with any one industry. You may decide to diversify stocks across countries, and so it's not just United States, but you may also go for stocks that are in other safer countries, or you could be more aggressive and go into developing countries. Understand that there is economic impact on global diversification, sometimes positive, sometimes negative, just depending upon what's going on. You may want to include bonds in your portfolio. Um, Usually bonds and stock returns there's a high correlation factor there, which means when one moves up or down, the other is also moving up or down. Investing in bonds can lower market risk, but it also increases interest rate risk. You might consider diversifying into real estate investment trusts. Again, REITs, real estate investment trusts, are pool investments from individuals, and they use the proceeds to invest in real estate. Quite often, larger real estate like office buildings or even skyscrapers or other large developments itself. Uh, there are a lot of benefits to REITs, but they also are highly influenced by real estate market conditions, and it can expose investors to high risk themselves. And so investors in REITs may want to further diversify their portfolios. Individuals may choose to get involved in stock options as part of diversifying their portfolio. But stock options can be a very risky move, and for most individuals, it really should only play a minimal role in asset allocation. And again, a stockbroker can go into all of the various options with respect to stock options themselves. Uh, just understanding that when you talk about diversification, that the economy does ebb and flow. Right now, as I'm taping this, we happen to be in a stock market that is breaking records all the time. But those those things can have major corrections and major adjustments over time. Even in things like stocks and real estate and other things. If you remember, not too recent past, in 2008, there was significant losses that were experienced in these kinds of portfolios. So again, asset allocation strategies. If you were to have a large amount in stocks or in real estate back then, you would have suffered significant losses. So it's important for you to just understand your risk tolerance, and that's why sometimes when there's a very volatile market, sometimes just investing in mutual funds is the safest way to go. Let's talk for a few minutes just about factors that come into asset allocation decisions themselves. And as you look here at the slide, you can see that when you're earlier in your career, that's going to make difference versus later on in a career when you're really making retirement decisions, because your stage in life really should have significant determinants about what you invest in. Younger investors usually need safer and more liquid securities. In the middle stage, investors may reduce some of their risky assets and hold more safe assets. And as you're nearing retirement, you're definitely going to want to reduce your risky assets even further and allocate more funds towards things like treasury bonds themselves. Also, the factors affecting your asset allocation are going to be your degree of risk tolerance. In other words, how much are you willing to lose itself? Also, of course, you're going to bring into the picture your expectations about economic conditions, and and nobody's got a perfect crystal ball here. But if you expect a strong stock market, you may invest in stocks. If you expect a weak stock market, you may invest in bonds. If you expect lower interest rates, you may invest in long-term bonds. If you expect favorable real estate conditions, you may invest in REITs. So there's all sorts of different factors that can come into asset allocation decisions. And of course, on all of those areas that I just mentioned, you can shop around for perspectives on what's going to happen. For some people, they think that there's a bubble that's going to burst, and when it bursts is we're going to crash hard. For others, they think there might be corrections that just mean that it won't be a crash, but things may go down. For others, they think that it's going to stay as it is. So again, you really have to understand how your own personal risk tolerance works within that. And that way, as you go through and you develop your own allocation strategy that you're comfortable with personally, or as comfortable as possible, you can make decisions within your budgeting, your financial plan as to how much you're going to invest in those kinds of things and how it's going to get adjusted in the future. Let's go to chapter 19, which is talking about retirement planning itself. And I really want to just talk through, just in general, the textbook goes in a whole lot more detail on this, but it's really about itself is understanding what are some of your retirement planning options that are out there. Of course, there's Social Security itself. Social Security is a federal program that taxes you during your working years and uses the funds to make payments to you during your retirement. And Social Security was never intended to be the 100% retirement plan. It was always intended to be something to augment what you are also setting aside from retirement. Just so that you understand, Social Security itself, there's a term called credits. You need to accumulate 40 credits during your working years to qualify for Social Security. And basically you can get 4 credits per year if your income is at least $1,220 per quarter. So accumulating 40 credits is really not that difficult. If you work for 10 years, for every quarter during 10 years, then you basically are qualifying for at least a minimal amount of Social Security. Social Security is also out there for those who are disabled, SSDI. So there's also survivor benefits that are provided through Social Security itself. But Social Security has a percentage of your income that is taken out from and set aside, and you become eligible for retirement benefits somewhere between 65 to 70, depending on when you were born. You can also earn some limited income while receiving Social Security itself. Social Security benefits, if you start to take them out at 62 years old, they're going to be much less than if you take them out at 70. In fact, between 62 and 70, your eligible benefits increase by 8% per year. So the more that you're able to actually defer taking your benefits, the better off you are. Also, depending upon what your retirement savings are, you may want to work until you are 70 years old so that you can maximize your income during those years. One of the things to just be aware of is that less and less people are setting aside retirement nowadays, and there's a lot of reasons for that. A lot of it is just it's becoming more expensive. Housing is becoming more expensive for some people. Volatility as to and access to retirement plans is becoming less and less as versus what they used to have in the past. Let me just mention a couple of plans that are out there. There's employer sponsored plans is usually your best choice if you have access to something like this. And this is the employer sponsored plans are designed to help you to save for retirement. They actually are great things that you should take advantage of regardless of what your age is if your employer is helping to contribute to a plan. These plans usually fall under various categories. There's defined benefit plans, which in essence, these employer-sponsored plans guarantee you a specific amount of income when you retire based upon your salary and based upon your years of employment, and there's specific benefits that you get associated with that. There's also defined contributions plan, which specifies guidelines under which you or your employer can contribute to your retirement account that allows you to invest the funds that are going into the plan in the future. The decisions with respect to contribute is just to let you know, some people wait too long to save. It's always better. It's just like setting aside savings accounts. It's always better to start off at an early age where you contribute from every paycheck. It becomes a habit of yours. And of course, with the time value of money, it really just allows a significant growth in your portfolio. Benefits of defined contribution plans are the fact that your employer is actually helping you in savings, and it's encouraging that kind of behavior very early on in life. So let's, as we talk about retirement plans decisions, one of the decisions you're going to have to make, of course, is how much to contribute, and you should maximize whatever your employer's contribution is in contributing. But you also want to understand how you should invest and how you should make decisions to invest. Because you always want to say, how do you invest your contributions? And you want to use a diversified set of investments. Consider the number of years that it's going to take for you to retire. Consider your risk tolerance, what it is personally. And just with the recent credit crisis that we went through in the last decade, just recognize the stocks can be risky. And there is a trade-off between potential risk and return. And so you will see here just as chart that, and also this is in your book, that just talks about what the composition of a retirement account portfolio ought to look like depending upon where you are in your age. And as you obviously get older, you're going to want to have a greater percentage of your portfolios in low-risk investments. And when you're younger, you can afford to have a greater percentage in high-risk investments. I would not, just as the chart recommends, I would not put 100% of everything into high risk investments. You should always begin building some lower risk investments as well as some medium risk investments. There's other retirement plans that are offered by employers. There's a 401k plan, which is a defined contribution plan that allows employees to contribute a maximum, usually of up to $18,000 per year. It's $24,000 per year if you're 50 or older, of your own money towards a plan that is tax deferred. Again, if you happen to be a highly compensated employee, you may not be able to contribute to that extent. There's also other plans that, like a Roth 401k plan, that is an employer offered plan. And this, again, there are many options out there for you to look at. There's something called a simplified employee plan, which is, again, another defined contribution plan. And these are usually offered by companies of 1 to 10 employees, very small companies, or they can also be used by self-employed people where employees can contribute to this plan. And there's tax and penalties for early withdrawal before age 59 and a half. There's a simple plans, the savings incentive match plan for employees. These are found usually in companies or firms of less than 100 employees, where an employee can contribute usually up to about $12,000 annually, and then the employer can match that. And the contribution limits will change based upon inflation. Sometimes there's profit sharing plans, which are defined contribution plans. The employer will make contributions to an employee retirement account based upon a specific profit formula. There's ESOP, employee stock ownership plans, where again an employee can contribute in the increasing value of the company itself. This can be one of those medium risk to higher risk investments, because that kind of investment is not diversified at all. There's Keogh plans that are offered. This is for self-employed individuals, where you can contribute up to $25,000. And there's, again, contribution limits associated with that. There's self-employed people can have their own SEP plans, simplified employee plans themselves, and they can also do traditional IRAs. All of these things are available out there, and what is best is probably getting a personal financial planner involved to really sit down and walk through all of these things. Let me just very quickly just compare a Roth IRA to a traditional IRA, just so that you understand the difference. A traditional IRA is more advantageous over a Roth IRA because the contributions are sheltered from taxes until you withdraw them as in retirement. A Roth IRA has an advantage over a traditional IRA. Going the other way around is because the investment income in a Roth IRA can accumulate tax-free. So if you are putting greater amounts into a Roth IRA and you are getting a higher return on those things, sometimes it's beneficial to have the investment income deferred until you actually begin to take that out. And again, the factors that are going to affect your choice with respect to those kinds of accounts are always going to be your marginal tax rates at the time of the contribution versus the time of withdrawal, and where you expect to be from that kind of standpoint. There's also other things out there that you can contribute that will help you in retirement. There's annuities that you can certainly, and there's different kinds of annuities that you can take benefit of. But any of these kinds of items, again, key decisions about retirement planning is always factored into a financial plan. What are you going to invest? How much are you going to invest? What kind of plan are you going to invest? When are you going to invest? And obviously how you are going to allocate those investments within your retirement plan as your portfolio begins to increase over the years. Until next time, we will be approaching and really kind of just talking about pulling all of this together through estate planning and how all these component pieces fit together. Until next time.